Matt! Matt, what are you doing? Come on! What are you doing? You got to come now. You could be the dragon. What? I don't. What is he doing with that little stick that he's holding? What is this thing? It looks oddly powerful. But are those my friends going into some portal? But doesn't this make me just vanish? Like nothing? Hey friends, family, followers, and subscribers. As you might have guessed from the opening bit, this is a Wheel of Time video, and I am batch reviewing episodes 6 and 7 of season 1 of the Wheel of Time, and there might be minor spoilers. No, let me correct that. Imperio, there will be major spoilers in this video. I will do a spoiler-free section, and then I will do a spoiler-filled section. And the spoiler-free section will be first. So if you're not caught up on all 14 books of the Wheel of Time up to the end of A Memory of Light, I highly suggest, if not strongly enforce you, to not watch the second half of this video. So without further ado, we're going to jump in. All right, so starting with episode 6. This episode of season 1 had the most changes from the book of any episode yet, in my personal opinion. While you still did see a good bit of maneuvering and Aes Sedai politicking in this episode, there were still a lot of stakes sent out into the world by Moiraine, Lan, Nynaeve even, who's not an Aes Sedai at this point. But you really see what the inside of the White Tower truly is like. It is a place of true manipulation. And that is true to the spirit of Robert Jordan's books. The Aes Sedai are master manipulators, master politicians, but yet they always tell the truth, even if it's the truth you think you know. But yet oftentimes it's the truth you don't expect. And that leads them to be very mistrustful. There's some great Matt moments in this episode. There's some great Rand moments in this episode. But I think the true winner of this episode is Moiraine, played by Rosamund Pike, because it's told entirely from her perspective. And you see she is on a mission. She is on a mission that could change the fate of the world, even if she doesn't know who the Dragon Reborn is. And another, I'd say, a close runner-up to the winner of this episode is Siuan Sanche, played by the Oscar-nominated actress Sophie Okonedo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. But man, can that woman act. I mean, the episode opens with her. And you see she is on full display in her position of authority as the Amyrlin seat. She basically is the one who controls the world by so many different threads and so many different patterns and political maneuvers that she is doing to try to keep things in order and try to keep evil at bay. Excuse me. But you also learned a lot about her backstory with Moiraine in this episode, which I didn't read New Spring, which is the prequel to the Wheel of Time, and that goes in depth more about Moiraine's history. So there are some things in this episode that truly caught me off guard and that I wasn't expecting. But if, to my understanding, if I had read New Spring, it would have made more sense. But all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. So I think on first first review, I would have given it a 7.5 out of 10 because there were some things that I just didn't understand, like the Waygate being able to be opened by one means versus in the books it's being opened by a complete opposite mean, or not opposite necessarily, but completely different. So I'd say I'd raise that a little bit to probably a 7.9 because, again, TV shows and books are two entirely different mediums in how to tell a story. And this episode truly showed that. So I'm sticking with a 7.9 out of 10 for this episode. Not my favorite, but still really good. And then we get into episode 7, which picks up immediately after episode 6 left off, and it shows one of my favorite sequences. And I said that about Shadar Logoth in episode 2, but this shows truly one of my favorite sequences in the entire series, which is the main group traveling through the Ways, which is an extra dimensional series of pathways and trails that are basically in complete darkness and that are haunted by this demonic force called the Black Wind. If you read the books, it is truly, truly, truly bone-chilling and ominous because you feel like you're being watched, but yet you are completely, completely alone if you don't have an Aes Sedai, a warder, or a really powerful warrior with you. And they're only used out of absolute necessity, which makes them that much more dreaded of being used. And unfortunately, this is a spoiler, but we no longer have Barney Harris playing Matt from this point on in the show. Unfortunately, that is very heartbreaking. We don't know why Amazon decided to recast the role of Matt Cawthon, but from what I've heard, he's disappeared entirely off Instagram, social media, which is really sad, and I truly do hope he is okay. But it was really sad to see him go. So he was not in this episode. However, we still, like, the scenes in the Ways were fantastic. The scenes leading up into Fal Dara, which is the last city before you enter the Blight, which is where the Dark One is imprisoned. Those were some excellent moments. And I think this was truly the episode where you really got the character development you had been seeking from our younger cast of characters, our brand new actors and actresses that you had been craving all season. And I think that was something special because these are some of my favorite characters in all of fantasy. And some of the characters, even though I'm a relatively new Wheel of Time fan, these are characters that mean so much to me. And this is the episode where you find out truly who the Dragon Reborn is, and you start to see the stakes of the story, not just of season 1, but of the Wheel of Time really come into focus. And you see how whoever ends up being the dragon is, how that has been impressed upon them and how that weighs on them. But you will see also how that plays out through the rest of the series, however Amazon decides to take the TV show versus the books. Which I had some hesitation that they were not going to follow the books exactly, and they haven't. Don't get me wrong, they have not. They've made a lot of changes, but in this episode, you truly see that they are sticking to the course of the overall story from the books, if you are a book reader and know what I'm talking about. So this episode, I really enjoyed, and you got some other really key characters showing up this time around, such as the character of Min, played by Kay Alexander. which how she showed up on the show was quite a change from the books, but I kind of enjoyed it. I really liked it. So this episode, I think, truly starts paving the way for the rest of the series. And so I'd give this episode a 9.6 out of 10. It did have its faults. It did have things that I was quite confused on. But in the end, a 9.6 out of 10 is what I will give the review of this. And this is the moment where I will heavily advise you, if you have not read the books or caught up on the show to this point, please turn back. Please, for the love of all that is holy, turn back. Or else I will put you under an unforgivable curse. I'm not sorry, Daniel Green. I love Harry Potter. You can deal with it. So, we are now entering spoiler territory. Again, I am not sorry. I warned you. Turn back now if you don't want anything spoiled. So, spoilers. Anyways, Rand is the Dragon Reborn. If you have read the books, at least until the end of The Dragon Reborn, the book, The Dragon Reborn, which is book 3 in the Wheel of Time, then you know Rand has been confirmed. You probably guessed it from the first chapter of The Eye of the World, because it opens with his perspective. However, the show has tried to play up the mystery of who's the Dragon Reborn. Is it Egwene? Is it Nynaeve? Is it Perrin? Is it Matt? Which I think has been good, but it also is taken away from the focus of who is this damn dragon? Just show us who it is already, please. This episode was a little confusing in the idea that Moiraine didn't take all Emonsfield 5 to go with her to the Eye of the World. And I'm also confused as to why the show decided to make the change that the Eye of the World is the Dark One's prison instead of Shayol Ghul. And I get they're trying to distinguish themselves from Lord of the Rings, but Shayol Ghul is an immensely important location in the Wheel of Time because it is where the boar is made. It is where a large chunk of Tarmon Gaiden, which is the last battle, is set. And it also, it feels evil. And yes, while you did see the Blight for the first time, I had some issues with the Blight. The Blight is supposed to be this wasteland with corrupted plants, corrupted animals, ruined cities, and dangers around every corner, and it feels wrong. You don't exactly understand why it feels... Well, you do understand why it feels wrong, but the way it's described is that it goes like Shinar, the last kingdom before the Blight takes hold, it's supposed to... You imagine it as like this Japanese flower garden with beautiful temples and beautiful cherry blossoms and trees. This is just in my mind. And then you get to the Blight and you see these trees are still alive, but they are diseased. They are sick. The temperature is oppressively hot. Trees are withered, twisted. And if you touch one, it could eat you alive. Or you see full lakes that are corrupted with just all kinds of dark creatures. And on the show, the Blight is just like, it looks like Mirkwood from the Hobbit movies. Like, what on earth is happening here? If anything, the Blight should look nothing like Mirkwood. It should look like a diseased desert that just feels wrong. I mean, you see the Blight on screen, and it does look wrong. But I'm intrigued to see how they play it out in episode 8, because you're supposed to feel like it's diseased. And yes, while it does feel diseased, it looks more like overgrown English ivy and kudzu in someone's front yard rather than a diseased desert. I'm like, what on earth is happening here? Come on, people, get your life together. Sorry, just a quick rant. And let's not even get started on the waygates. I love the design and I love what they're going for here to try to place a bigger emphasis on the Aes Sedai, because in the books, you unlock a waygate by taking out a little trefoil leaf key from this intricate design of like very realistic vines and leaves. Just you can picture it in your head and how beautiful it is. But on the show, it's like this, it looks like a terminal. It looks like and has a staircase leading up to a platform with two very large pillars on either side, and you have to channel to open it, which I have some issues with from the books, because then how does Padan Fain travel the ways if he can't channel? Even though he's immensely powerful, he can't channel. So how does he move around the Westlands if he can't channel on the show? But yet on the show, you still like literally see him in the ways in the background. That was very confusing to me. And that has really big implications for what happens in Shadow Rising, because Trollocs get through the ways to the two rivers and Perrin has to go back and defend the two rivers. But to our knowledge in the books, there were no Black Ajah there opening the way gates for the Trollocs to pass through. So how will that come back into play later when we will have to see the Trollocs and Murdral, who cannot channel, get through the ways to the two rivers? I don't understand. Which there have been some leaked images showing Padan Fain holding a trefoil leaf that looks metallic. I don't know how accurate that is, but I mean, it really could be there could be multiple ways to open the ways. I honestly don't know. But at the same time, I'm a little confused. And by a little, I mean a lot. And then I understand Matt was not with the main gang this episode because they had issues with Barney Harris and recasting him and whatnot. I think it would have made more sense to have Barney Harris at least in 2 more episodes and show him in Tar Valon starting to do some of the things he did towards the beginning of The Dragon Reborn, such as fighting Gawain and Galad in the Warders training yard and beating their asses, which was an incredible Matt flex. Matt has a lot of flexes. Or him meeting Min for the first, he met Min in Barillon, but seeing him like really struggle with how manipulative the Aes Sedai are, that would have been a cool thing to see in this episode, and see how his journey gets going and how that eventually sets him up to go to Tyr and to see Rand truly claim and believe that he is the Dragon Reborn. However, I was also kind of hoping that the showrunners would show Malkir and how significant that is for Lan, and how Lan does revive Malkir later on in the story, closer to the last battle. And it's just an absolutely incredible series of chapters from Lan's perspective by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. But how are we going to see the 7 Towers of Malkir if they're overgrown by this odd looking weed thing? And I don't know. That's bothersome to me, because I want to see what the Blight has taken, and that will emphasize the theme of loss of innocence that these stories portray so well. But I don't know. I really don't know. I want to see that. I'm trying to think of what else. I want to see how important Faldara is as a fortress to defend against evil coming out of the Blight. Because in A Memory of Light, there is a major battle that happens in... Sorry, carry on. There's a major battle that happens in Tarwin's Gap, which is right outside of Faldara, where part of the Dark One's army attacks the city, and Lan is there to help defend it, but some of the good guys are starting to sense that something's wrong. Something's happening that shouldn't be happening. And it leads to a pretty big reveal about some really complex weaves that the Forsaken are placing on some of the greatest generals of the Westlands. And so I don't know how a full battle can take place there. I'm a little lost on that aspect. And also, I just don't understand. I get why we went to Tar Valon in episode 6, but why did we not start accelerating things from the Dragon Reborn and the Shadow Rising in episode 6 and 7? Because that would have been the perfect opportunity to truly do that. To see Matt gamble, to have him catch up with Tom and have them go on their journey, but also meet Gawain and Galad. And yes, it would have created some problems for the ultimate journey to Caemlyn, which we will see in season 2, because Elaine was cast. And so I'm a little confused on that aspect, and I'm also confused on the I guess it was an Angreal that Moiraine used to go visit Swan, and that could have been a dream shard, which is really exciting. When Moiraine and Swan have their little forbidden meeting, because Moradin / Ashamael used dream shards to capture a lot of his victims and lure Rand, Mat, and Perrin into the dream world and the Eye of the World. And also that's where he met a lot of the Forsaken later on in the series to discuss their plans and their maneuvering. But I didn't understand that. Like, why didn't they explain that? Are they trying to leave it more mysterious and intriguing for later installments? I don't know. I really don't. So I'm a little lost. I thought visually it was really cool, but story-wise, it had me scratching my head quite a bit. So I guess we'll see. I don't know. There's a lot of things that they've changed that are truly head-scratching. But also I understand, again, TV show and book are two entirely different mediums, and they require different means of telling a story. And this is an adaptation. And they're trying to adapt the entire series, not just a book at a time, because that would literally take a generation to do, because there are so many books. I mean, literally, look at, I have an entire shelf on just the Wheel of Time. And that's multiple copies of all the books. So, I don't know. We'll see. But all that being said, I like this season a lot. I don't love it. I think there's a lot that they need to improve in season 2. They need to get the pacing down. They need to not do exposition dumps. They need to make the story and the mythology happen naturally, which the exposition dump in the opening episode was they needed to show that in a really cool way, and they didn't. It's like, oh, let's have Rosamund Pike narrate the opening 3 minutes of the first episode. It's like, what happened to the intrigue that Robert Jordan wanted to build up throughout the series? Why was that just gutted in the first 3 minutes? Don't do that. Just don't do that. Show us why the ultimate reveal that Rand survived trapping the Dark One in a new prison was so profound, because it was mysterious. It made you think. Don't do that. Show mystery. Don't hell mystery and don't dump exposition on us, because we don't want to have it just exposition dumped on us. And I'm not trying to be Squidward in the shower having money rained on him, but you know what I mean. Come on, Amazon, get your shit together. All in all, this season, I really do enjoy this season. It is entertaining. Again, the biggest praise I have for the writers is they understand these characters. I mean, when I watch these episodes, I am drawn in by the characters. I'm like, oh, that's Rand. Oh, that's Nynaeve. That's Moiraine. That's what she would do. That is Swan Sanche. These are the characters that I read and fell in love with. I do not say that lightly. They understand these characters. I cannot get over that. I love it so freaking much. Another biggest complaint though that I have is, show me a damn map. Please, for the love of all that is holy, show me a damn map. I want to see the Westlands as a map. Just show the map. Don't have a Game of Thrones opening, but just show us a map, please. For the love of all that is holy, just show us a map. We want to see a map. And throw us more curveballs. I've loved the curveballs. Thank you for that, Rafe. We love you. Thank you. But all that being said, thanks for tuning into this batch review. Thanks for dealing with the spoilers and dealing with just really seeing the Emmonsfield 4 right now, LOL, really get into their element and have their characters deepened and developed. That was awesome. Thanks for tuning in to my rant / praise of episodes 6 and 7 of season 1 of The Wheel of Time. So, even though The Wheel of Time has neither beginning nor end, this video today, it was an end. So, I'm going to head back to the White Tower now. Well, no, should I say the Black Tower. But thanks for tuning in. Love everyone. Be safe and peace out.